we're back with Larry Merchant, Couchside. This is Steve Kim for UCN Live. Larry, I told people that I was going to be interviewing you on Twitter. I said, send me some questions, and this is what we got. Someone wants to know, Hagler, Leonard, who won that fight in your view?
I had it a draw.
Oh, that's a cop-out, Larry. Larry, come on.
It was. I thought Leonard did a great job of winning the drama of the fight because he did better than people expected. It was sort of like Ali Foreman, and everybody thought, is Ali crazy? He's going to get hurt in this fight. It will be the last fight of his career. And here was Leonard, who had fought once in 5 years, suddenly moving up to middleweight to fight the great Hagler. And he won the crowd over because he did better than everybody thought he would do, and Hagler did less. But at the end of the night, I thought that Hagler did enough to retain his championship.
Okay, Larry, but if I put a gun to your head and I said, you got to pick one guy, and you just say, just the gut feel, who do you, if you had to pick a guy, who deserved that fight?
I thought Hagler did enough. But if anybody feels that Leonard deserved to win because of all the everything that surrounded that matchup and his comeback, I get it. I get it, and I have no problem with it.
Larry, what was it like calling a fight from the Rahway State Prison in New Jersey when James Scott fought Eddie Mustafa Muhammad?
It was an amazing experience for me. It may have been the first fight I did with the HBO. I don't.
It's a memorable one.
And the circumstances were that James Scott had been a fighter, and now he was in prison. I don't remember his offense, although he had been trained, I think, by Angelo Dundee. He was a serious fighter, and he was fighting the former light heavyweight champion of the world. It was kind of eerie being in the prison, and the eeriest thing was the relative silence of the prisoners watching the fight. And it turned out they were rooting against Scott, that they thought that this was some kind of a scheme that he had to get himself out of prison that they themselves couldn't achieve. So they were kind of rooting against one of their own. But it was a memorable night.
That's one night as a media member you do not want to lose your credential. Larry, we spoke about Vladimir Klitschko earlier. How does he stack up, and how would he fare against the heavyweights of the 60s and 70s?
You know, it's always difficult to compare fighters from different eras and athletes from different eras, because athletes have gotten so much bigger and stronger and faster today in all sports. You see those monster guys coming out of the bullpen throwing 98. You see those 330-pound linemen, 260-pound linebackers. So I don't know how you can compare the supersized heavyweights of today to the cruiserweight-sized heavyweights of the past.
Yeah, Larry, what's the best fight you ever saw ringside?
Well, my mind immediately goes to Hagler Hearns, where you couldn't hold your breath for 8 minutes. Two elite fighters, both of whom could box, deciding to throw down and put it all out there on the line. It's a very rare thing, and it's an unforgettable night. Douglas Tyson is certainly one.
Chavez Taylor, I would assume, is in your list?
Chavez Taylor, yes, but not as much as a really good fight, but not quite on that top, senior senior level.
How about Morales Barrera? You were there for all 3 fights.
Morales Barrera couldn't have been better. I mean, particularly that first fight. Whoa. Whoa. There wasn't a knockdown in the fight, but they were so fierce, and there was something so personal in it.
Yeah.
You know, now, I never saw anything talking about that kind of fight, anything like Ali Fraser 3.
Yeah.
Ali Fraser 1, which I covered, was the best event I ever covered, and the fight lived up to it and
Right.
even surpassed it. But Ali Fraser 3 was something that was beyond what a melodramatic director would try to put into a movie, and said something about that age of heavyweights.
Larry, you deal with fighters, or you've dealt with fighters for a very long time as a columnist, as a reporter. You were on the beat. You also did pre-fight meetings with HBO. Someone wanted to know, who's your favorite boxer to deal with on that level? Just personally, interacting with them, talking with them, doing interviews, getting to know them. Who stood out to you?
I know I like Barrera. Maybe because he was the only one who would show up wearing a suit and a tie.
Every time, huh? Yeah.
Listen, George Foreman in his comeback years was terrific. Sugar Ray Leonard was a revelation in his time, but you know, Ali was Ali, and it was an amazing experience to be around him as I was for many of his fights. And the really amazing thing about Ali outside of the ring is that in that day, everyone who had direct contact has stories that you never heard before in different ways, that he could get you and like a natural politician, he was interested in you as well as you were interested in him. And everything seemed to be happening spontaneously and with a twinkle and a smile. That's what made Ali so good. That yes, he was bombastic, and he sort of invented that style of self-promotion and all of that. But it was done communicating to you, usually, not always, that we're having fun here, aren't we, guys?
Larry, someone wanted to ask, do you still have plans on doing a book?
Well, I cut out a piece in the New York Times today, a book review of a writer who wrote a book about writing memoirs. I'm trying to keep my distance. When I go out for a bike ride or a hike, I have chapter headings and thoughts in my head, but as yet I haven't found life in retirement so boring that I felt, okay, I've got to create my own excitement here.
Larry, one question I had, and I asked this of Ray Mancini a couple of weeks ago. It seemed to me, and I don't want to be that guy that just waxes poetically about the past, because we seem to have a distorted view of how good the past really was.
Sure.
It seemed to me, though, growing up as a child of the 80s, and you referenced this fight, when Hagler Leonard, Hagler Hearns fought, the true super fights, they lived up not just to the event, but to the fight and the expectations. They left us thinking, wow, this is the best of boxing. I'll be honest with you, the past 10 years, most of these super fights artistically have been duds. Do you agree with that? And the other question is, if you do, why? Why do you think that is?
Well, in one word, Mayweather. You know, a genius at tactical and defensive fighting. But I don't think it's necessarily true. I mean, think about, you know, Pacquiao and Cotto.
Okay.
You know, and think of some of, you know, Pacquiao Morales, Barrera Morales. I'm sure there are others. But maybe we're going through a phase in which fighters and people around the fight game are seeing that, well, look, if Mayweather could pull off this con with his artistry, why do we have to give the fans what they want? I mean, in my worldview, boxing is part of entertainment. That the worst sin in entertainment is to bore
Yes.
people. It's like going into a restaurant and walking out and saying, well, it was a pretty good meal, but why would I want to go back? Okay? Why would I want to go back? And you got to give them something to make them want to come back, more than a W. But hey, Mayweather had the last laugh.
All the way to the bank. Larry, as always, appreciate the time.
Thank
that
you,
was
Steve.
Larry Merchant. We were couchside. This is Steve Kim for UCN Live.